So we don't have any video. We have screen and we got the audio. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so back to the midterm. There is a link here. Where'd it go? Oh, it's gone. No, it's right here. Midterm exam study guide. Can we walk through this real fast? I mean, not too fast. Here's an example. The midterm exam is entirely multiple choice. 2 sections. Standard questions, such as the following, which is like definitional. In the following code segment, what does font refer to? Is it an object, a property, a method, an event, a collection, both an object or property, both a property and method, both an object and property? Who knows the answer to this question? Talk about it. Talk about it with your neighbor. Take 10 seconds. Ready, set, go. 10, 9, 8, 7. Carter, who's your neighbor? Why don't you neighbor this guy? Justice, who's your neighbor? Justice, where's Garrett? Oh, yeah. Good point. In the following code segment, what does font refer to? Is it an object? No, it's not an object. Well, we'll talk about that. Okay, we'll come back to this. Here's the second question. Do you guys have an answer?
It has 8 options.
Okay, I'll give you the answer. It's at the bottom. Correct answer is F, both an object and a property. You can tell it is an object because it's followed by bold, which is a property. So bold is a property of the font object. How about that? Only objects as properties. You guys got this. It is also a property. You can tell because it follows the range A1 object. Although F is the correct answer, H would also receive full credit because a method can return a reference to an object just as a property. So you really can't infer the difference just by structure of the statement. So H would also be correct there. Here's the second section. The second section comprises questions that evaluate your understanding of the syntax of VBA. Determine the output of the existing code, such as the following. Is that the code? Consider the following code segment. Sub proc1, dim x as integer, x is equal to 5. So far, so good, right? Range A1.value is equal to, this test is, if x is 5, then range A1.value equals range A1.value and ugly. X is equal to x plus 5. Else if x is equal to 10, then range A1 value is equal to range A1 value and mean. Else range A1 value is equal to range A1 value and fun. And if and sub. Okay, so that's the code. The options are, let's see, is that all the options? Yeah. After the sub runs, the value shown in range A1 of the currently active worksheet will be, this test is fun, this test is mean, this test is ugly, this test is ugly mean, cannot be determined by the code given. Okay, as your neighbor, you and your neighbor, what do you think it is? Do I need to zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole? Okay, talk to your neighbor. 20 seconds. Ready, set, go.
No, I know, but I was not following what. Yeah.
You weren't following what I was saying, Victoria? Were you distracted?
Yeah, probably. No, it's not my favorite. I'm proud of myself. I don't know if I go to just even found one error. I got 100%.
That's pretty cool. You, you submitted it to Justin first and then to. That's funny. That's pretty funny. I like that. This is ugly. Is that your final answer? What's up? How you doing?
Good. Like the midterm exam, what is it really about?
What is it about?
Like, is it code? Like, we have to come up with a code or something?
Oh, no, multiple choice questions. Multiple choice. So just like this, you have to evaluate this code, and the question is, after the code runs, what's going to be in range A1? So you don't have to type any code,
Oh, okay.
but you have to be able to understand the code to be able to answer the question.
Okay.
That's not too bad, right, Justice?
No, it's not true.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Did you get the right answer?
Yeah. I think it's C.
Okay, let's find out. What did you guys get? Brendan, what'd you get? Okay, here's the correct answer to this question. Correct answer is C. This test is ugly. Once the if statement begins, the different blocks of code are mutually exclusive. So at the time of the if statement begins, x is equal to 5. So the first condition evaluates to true, and the two lines of code will execute. The second of which changes the value of x to 10. However, even though the second condition is now true, it is not evaluated because one of the blocks of the if statement has already been executed. So what it's saying is, you may have been tripped up by this right here. X is equal to x plus 5. X is now 10 at the end of this line of code. And this else if x is equal to 10, you may think that this is true. And it evaluates to true. But this only gets evaluated if this is false. So because this is true, it runs these two lines of codes and skips all of this and ends the sub. In that case, it runs this and it says this test is ugly, which is C. Raise your hand if you got that right. Nice. That's like almost the whole class. Grace, what happened?
I got it wrong at first and then you told me why I was right.
Nice.
Or why I was
Okay, does it make sense? Okay. Okay, so those are the two types of questions for the exam. Continuing on the study guide here, here is a list of topics that I expect you to know for the exam. Most are taken from specific sections of the textbook. And here's the sections, right? Chapter 1, 1.5. Chapter 1, 1.8. Understand the three options available for storing a recorded macro. Understand the difference between an ordinary workbook file and a macro-enabled file. Know the shortcut key to open VBA editor. Understand how to break one VBA statement into multiple lines. Understand the syntax and usage of the comment character. I don't know if I have to read this whole thing, but these are some pretty specific instructions on how to prepare for the midterm, right? And you can go to each one of these sections in the textbook. Anything you're not familiar with, anything you don't understand, it goes all the way through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, 14, 16. Those are the chapters that we will have covered for the midterm exam. Items discussed in class but not covered in the book. Be familiar with the range objects end method. We're going to talk about that today too. Given a set of data, understand what cell is referred to by the following. Range before end Excel down. Range before end Excel up. Range before end Excel to left. Range before end Excel to right. Okay, great. Questions on the midterm exam study guide?
Well, this is not midterm. Are we able to have the blank Excel open? Is it open? No. Actually,
No.
not. Yeah, that's great.
It is open here.
No.
It's nothing open, basically, except exam, right?
So we don't. We can't use Excel sheet. This is proper,
That's not Proctor. I trust you guys.
Maybe you should make your project after this, you know?
Nope, it's not proctored. I could. Do you want me to, should we do it in the testing center? That's just,
right?
I'm happy to do it in the testing center.
Not
Piece of cake.
stupid computers there and midterms like there.
It'd be so easy. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. You just show up, go in line. I mean, how hard could it be? You know,
Actually, outright.
rough,
Yeah.
rough. The midterm exam is going to open on Monday, February 24th is when it opens. It will close Saturday, March 1st. So it's going to be open basically all week next week. Sound good? We do have class. It'll be on your own. Yeah, right now it's online. It'll be on Canvas. I am going to time it. I think I was going to have like 3 hours of time, something huge. You probably won't need 3 hours.
Like trying to at least put the VBA code into the just let's
Yeah, no Excel. Close Excel. Close Excel, close. Maybe I should do testing center. Now that I think about it, the more I think about it, I think we should do testing center.
Slide in the testing center on
especially during
midterm
midterms.
week.
Well, this is the whole week though. This is like, you can go anytime during the week, Monday through Saturday.
The line the entire week, you will just come there, spend half of the
Goes
day
all the way
and
into the
stay in the
classroom.
line. Okay, if we're gonna be somewhere.
You can buy some food.
I don't have to really.
Oh, you'd prefer Proctorio over the testing center?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, really?
I know, but I would not hate it because at least they're able to go to the bathroom compared to Proctorios, don't know. how we're gonna-
Okay.
Can we just stay at home?
I'm happy to try it out if you guys are trying it online. No Proctorio, no testing center, just closed Excel, right? Closed book Excel. That's all going to be up here. You guys got this. Fair enough. Fair enough. The study guide? Sure. Yep. Go for the study guide. Okay. Any other questions about the midterm? All right. I don't think we've said an opening prayer. Let's say an opening prayer here, and then we'll dive into today's debugging and error handling. 15 and 22. Who'd like to say a prayer for us? Any blessings? Who needs the blessings? Jaden, thank you. Appreciate it.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful that we have this opportunity to be able to come to class today. I'd like to ask that you bless us with this video. Also bless that we make it all safely after class and so much like to say these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thanks very much. Okay, let's do this one. So if we go to class 11, wow, this is our 11th class. Product list. Let's download product list.xlsm file. I will save that to my downloads, and then I will go and unblock the file. Right click, properties, unblock, click OK, and then I'll open it up. We won't cover the homework that's due today specifically, but there are some things that we're going to cover today that will help you with the homework. The homework today is extremely small. Let's put small. The amount of code that you have to write is literally 1 line of code. So it's really not that bad on the homework tonight. Projects due tomorrow. Which project is that? ISBN. We covered that. We covered some ISBN last week, if you remember. So it's a good idea to use some of the videos from last week if you haven't started that. Coming up next week, we have there's a smallest number homework, a small homework, and of course the midterm next week. Following the midterm, by the way, is a pretty big project. The Big Boggle is a big project. That's due the month. Maybe I should change that. Should we change that to do the Wednesday after? Give us some time. I like that. Yeah, because if you do the midterm Saturday, let me change this project Big Boggle to Wednesday next week, or the week after. Sorry. So this is the project is due a week after the midterm, and let me make that changes here too. So this is going to be the Wednesday instead of the Monday, so March 5th. That should work. Okay, great. So that's what's coming up. We got a midterm, we got a project, a couple of easy homeworks, and we're really digging in here. Some of the other topics for the rest of the semester include working with pivot tables in VBA, importing data from a database, managing files, reading text files, using VBA with Google Docs, using VBA to send email, and creating custom ribbons for our workbooks. Okay, cool. So let me open the product list data. Here we go. Where did it go? Here it is. This is a list of products. We have a couple of columns here. What is that, 10 columns? 9 columns. We have a product ID. We have a category. We have a department, manufacturer. This looks like some retail information here, maybe from an online website selling these products, hunting products, apparel, outdoor products. Here's a compass. Here's a safety bag. Shotgun case, $55. Is that pretty good for a shotgun case? Depending on the case. It's in the ballpark. It's not like shotgun cases aren't like $200 nowadays, are they? The nice ones. Okay. So 55 is a good starter case. 15 is even better. Okay. So we have some data here. The goal of today, what we're trying to learn here is some of the techniques and tools to allow us to debug our code. This will allow us to write more efficiently, find the errors faster, and be better programmers. Basically, be better at understanding how to make this code work for us, helping us be more powerful. There's 3 different types of errors. We're going to cover all 3 today. One is a syntax error. So if I come up if I pull up Alt F11, pull up my macros here, this is an indication of a syntax error. It's all red, and a syntax error is one where it's not going to run. It can't run. Syntax error. And that's an accurate error. So if I try to run this, it says syntax error, and it highlights this line. Let's see, what's wrong? I have a do loop. Here's a do and a loop. Can anybody see the problem? Yeah, very good. It's just misspelled, right? So this is probably one of the more common errors. I'd be surprised if any of you have not had a misspelling error in your code yet, if not multiple, right? This is pretty common. And a lot of times for syntax errors, it will tell you this is a problem. I can't run this. Help me out. But often there's other times when syntax errors don't show you what the problem is. So for example, if I had this correct, but I took out the loop word and I tried to run this without the loop word, that one says do without loop. That one's pretty helpful. It says, hey, you've got to do, but with no loop. But it's interesting that it highlights down here, right? So not all this, there's no red. In other words, there's no red here that shows you what's wrong because it's not here. It's not listed. Once you run it, you see the compile error do without loop, and that would be an example of a syntax error to put that loop back in. Another type of error is a logic error. I want to come back to that type of error. And another error is a runtime error. So let me just put these up here. 3 errors, 3 error types, 3 types of errors. I'll just make these in comments, right? One is syntax error. 2 is logic error. Let me come back to that one. And 3 is a runtime error. Let me talk about runtime errors. When it comes to syntax error, my point is you have to fix it, right? You either have to replace, you have to respell it, or you have to add it back in. You just have to fix it. There's no other way to resolve a syntax error other than taking it out, removing the syntax error. When it comes to runtime errors, there's a couple of different options, believe it or not. So let's do this. Now that I've fixed this error, if I run this now, what happens? If I run this, this looks like it's a loop, and it looks like it goes through all of the products. Is that right? It's just printing all of the products value from column 1 and column 6. So it's column 1 and column 6. It's just giving us the product ID and the name. And it's printing the product ID and the name for each, I guess for everything, right? It's going through this entire column of products, which is about, what is it, 861 rows. Yeah, it's printing the row first. So 861 rows of products. That's all it's doing. Let me see if I can add a runtime error here. So let's come up here. I'm going to add a line up here that says sheets, products, but let's say I misspelled it, .select. Notice that this is not a syntax error. This is correct syntax. I've got the sheets, I've got the open parentheses and the what do you call it? Quotes, and I'm using .select. So from a syntax perspective, this is 100%. I'm good to go. The problem here is that I have misspelled the name, and the interpreter is not going to tell me there's a problem with this. It's going to say the subscript is out of range, and then it's going to select this line. This is very similar. It's kind of a weird error, if I'm being honest, right? What does that error even mean? Subscript out of range? It's a weird one. To try to understand that one, if I were to select worksheets and select the 5th worksheet, I don't even have 5 worksheets, right? This 5 right here is an index number to the number of sheets in the file. This is considered a type of subscript, right? When I see this error and it's saying subscript is out of range, there's no subscripts in coding. You can't write a subscript in coding. So they put parentheses around it and they say subscript out of range. If I run that up here, that's the error that I get. That subscript is out of range. There's no worksheet 5. So that's kind of the context for this error message, subscript out of range. You get the same error if you're looking for a sheet that doesn't exist, right? Subscript out of range. It says, there's nothing there. I don't find that. Whether you use the name or you use an index number, that subscript is out of range. So that's the error we get here. This is a runtime error. So the syntax is correct, and it's really a runtime error. When you run it, that's when you see the error message. And we just have to correct that. There's 2 ways to handle runtime errors. One is to eliminate it, take it out, which in this case would be if I correctly spelled it, then it's okay. But sometimes there's times when we have a runtime error and we build a trap for it. It's called error trapping. And we actually know there's going to be an error, or we expect an error to happen, and we can trap it. And we can tell VBA what to do once you see an error in this location. And there's a couple reasons why that's helpful. You can't always fix a runtime error. if you think about all the repetitions we do, and we could go through 1.04 million rows, it's sometimes very difficult to find and eliminate all runtime errors. Sometimes the best way to handle a runtime error is to trap it. And so we'll talk about what that means here in a second. We're going to trap the error, and then based on the error, run some code to address that. So that's the runtime error. In terms of what's our goal for today? I would like to write some code that identifies all of the unique department names here in this 860 rows of data, 61 rows. I want it to automatically go through and build me a list of what are the unique department names for this entire sheet. I think there's only 4. I think it's apparel, hunting, outdoors, and I think something else, general. I think those are the 4. But I want to do this with just the code itself. I want it to be able to create those unique department names. We'll put them on a sheet. And what we'll do later on in the course, I think it's with this file, we'll actually create a user form that allows us to edit this in a user form. And to make a user form, we need to have those unique names. What are the unique names of the department? What are the unique manufacturer names? What are the unique categories? So this is going to help us later on in the course. But today we'll just start by pulling the data that is the unique department name. So for column C, we want it to pull unique names. The nice thing about this kind of code is if we ever add a new department, it will pull that new department name in as well. Okay, so let's do this. Was that me, Carter? What was that? Did you guys hear that? Oh, that's the IBC closet, isn't it? Distracting. Okay, so let's come down here to below the debug line here, and let's say, let's do make unique list of departments, just kind of as a comment to help us know what this next few lines of code are going to do. Let's see. Let's come back up here. Well, let's create some variables here. So we need to create a column variable. We'll do column as integer. Let's create a found cell as range. And we'll use these in our making a unique list of departments. Let's do set found cell equal to, what we want to do is we want to search for if the name already exists, right? So we have these different hunting names, hunting, outdoor, general, apparel. We want to search to see if it already exists on the list. So let's see if it's on the list. Let's do set found cell equal to worksheets, and let's create a new worksheets called lists. That's where we'll do our lists. We'll look on that worksheet in rows 1, and let's do a find. Let's find the department. And if we remember, we've done find a little bit. We do 3 commas because there's other parameters inside of that find function that we don't need. I just want to use this XL whole parameter that says find this word department in the whole cell. So what we're looking for is we're looking for the word department if it's in the lists worksheet in the first row. But you know what? The first thing we need before we can even do that is, I mean, let's just run this. What happens if I run this? It's going to say subscript out of range. Why does it say that? Because we don't have a lists sheet. So it already recognizes, wait a minute, you're asking me to do something with an object that doesn't exist. I can't find anything in this because there's no worksheets sheet. So before this is going to work, I'll go ahead and stop this now. Let's create a function that says, hey, does this sheet exist or not? So I'm going to come down here to the bottom of this code, and I'm going to create a function procedure. And let's call it function sheet exists. We're going to pass it a sheet name, and that's going to be a string. And then we want to return a true or false. So we'll say function sheet exists. That's the name of the function. This is what we're going to pass to this function, a sheet name. And then we want it to return a Boolean, a true or false value. Does the sheet exist or not? True for yes, it exists. False for no. And so to do this function, let's go ahead and create a variable. We'll do a worksheet as WS as worksheet, a worksheet variable, like a worksheet object. And then let's do a for loop. Let me see if I can scroll this up here so you guys can see it a little bit better. For each worksheet in this workbook dot worksheets. It's been a little while, but this is a collection of worksheets, right? We're saying in this workbook, there's a collection of worksheets, and it's saying for each worksheet object in the collection, do the following. And then here's my end of my for loop, which is my next statement. Let's just print each name, and let's just see if this works, right? So if I run this, let's see if it prints the name. Sheet exists. We'll say products. And then it's going to print. So I went up here to my immediate window. Sheet exists. I'm calling this function. I'm entering a sheet name. And then it's going to run a loop through all the sheets. And those are the names of my two sheets right there. So far, what we've done here is we've created a function. We've created a worksheet object in that function. We've created a loop to go through all of the worksheets in this workbook and print the name. Okay, great. But we're not done yet. Instead of printing, we need it to return whether or not this sheet exists. And what we're looking for is this lists sheet, right? Could be any sheet. In this case, we're looking for the lists sheet. Does this sheet exist or not? So let's figure out how to find if this exists or not. If ws.name, the name of the sheet, is equal to the sheet name, then do something. And I'll do an end if. So if the name of this worksheet, the one that we're inside this loop on for each worksheet, it's going to take one worksheet at a time. If the name of that worksheet is equal to the name that we passed in up here, then we're done. Then that's it. So we can do sheets exists equals true. And we can exit the function. And we're done with the function. That's all we need. All we need to know is if the name is the same that we passed in, then this entire function should return true. And that's how we return it, is we use the name of the function and we set that equal to true, which is the Boolean, and then we exit the function. It turns out that if this is not true, if it doesn't find it, the default value for a Boolean is false. So I could be, I should probably do this anyway. I should say sheet exists equals false. If the code gets down to this point, then it needs to return false. It has not found a sheet with whatever name we pass to it. But this is the default. It's already set to false right when this starts. Just when this allocation, when this memory is allocated a variable, the default value is already false. But this just makes it a little bit more explicit. We're going to set that to false at the very end. Okay, so now when we come back up here and if we run this, let's see. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Sheet exists. I got to spell it right. If I run this, it's going to say sheet exists list is equal to false because there is no sheet named list. So we just built this function right here. A couple lines of code. We're looking for a specific sheet. If I come in here and say sheet exists promo, let's see, is it promo? Promos with an S, then that should be true. Sheet exists products, that's also true. And so now we know our sheet exists. Okay, tell your neighbor if you got this function working. Neighbor, what's your status? Does your function work? Jaden. Let me see if I can shrink it a little bit so you can see the bottom of it for all those in the back. This is function sheet exists. Question? Sure. Everybody good? Where are we at? Jaden's almost there. Carter? Got it. Hunter? Spencer? Just thinking about it. Mama Luisa?
The set font cell.
Oh yeah, set found cell is equal to worksheets lists. That's probably because you don't have lists as a sheet yet. We're gonna come back and create that in a minute, so that's fine.
Okay.
But run this down here, see if this one works. So do a reset there, stop that one.
Stop.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
And
then
you can
come
start
up
from-
here to immediate window.
Yeah.
And go to the bottom there, and then do a question mark. And then type in
The question mark.
Yep.
Mm.
and type in sheet exists, like you have there.
Why? Right.
Sheet exists, the name of the function.
Oh, the name
With an S as well.
sheet. Okay. And sheet.
And then in parentheses, I mean, inside the open parentheses, do quote and do promos, PROMOS.
Almost like this.
Yeah, and then double quote and then close parentheses and then enter. Okay, good. That's what we needed to find. So that says 2. I think that needs to be true.
Oh.
Yeah, hit play. Yeah, you can do that again. Yeah, perfect. Okay, what does that say? Oh, there you have an extra S after sheet. So that should be the same name as that. Sheet exists and sheet exists. So you have an extra S after the T. After the first T. Yeah. Okay. See if that works.
Also.
False. Okay, let's check. See if you need a capital P. Do you have, is it promos with a capital P? Yours work?
This one right here, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if you hit enter on that, what happens? Oh, I think you have an extra S. You have no S there and you have an S on the end of that one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, same thing. And you get an
Oh,
extra
yeah.
S. It works. Okay, great. Great, very good. How's it coming over here? Yeah. Yeah. And then you have to pass it something. So you have to go up here to the immediate window, do a question mark, and then type in sheet exists, and then pass it. Yeah. Cody? Andrew? Jared? Nice. Wait, you guys are on the same row on both classes? Same team? Was that by design? Unintentionally? Okay. Go team 5. Wow. Rough, Grace. Rough. Ouch. Talk about love. Yeah, good question. Lists, yeah, go ahead, Jade. Lists, the sheet is not created yet. So that is not listed in your sheets yet.
Oh, so
And so it's like, not yet. We're gonna do that in just a minute.
so it's supposed to be wrong.
It's supposed to be wrong. Right now, it's supposed to be wrong. That's right. It will in just a minute. Did you get it? Sure. What kind of answer is that? You don't have it? How close are you?
No, I'm not even, no, I'm working on my project.
Oh, you're on a different topic. Did it work?
It's not correct thing, it's a decline, somewhere there's a misspelling.
So just one thing. Yeah, click, okay. Where does it go? Oh, it doesn't even recognize it?
But
Or module, right?
Yeah, are you in the module? Module one, this is module one, right? Double click that one.
Yep.
I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. I think we're almost there, except for Victoria. Okay. Should we keep going or should we wait? Jaden, how you doing? Okay. So now we have this function that we created, right? So we have this function sheet exists. Now we can use this to identify if the lists sheet exists. So we're going to do this before let's see, do we want to do it before? I think we want to do it before. Before we search for something, we're going to figure out, does this sheet exist or not, right? So let's come, let's see, we have the do until, we have our debug. We're going to make a unique list of departments, but we want to see if it's there. Let's come down. Let's see, where should we put this? Let's put it after for a minute. We'll move it if we need to. Let's do an if statement. If sheet exists, we're calling this function, right? Make sure you spell it correctly. If sheet exists, and we're going to pass it the name of the sheet that we want, lists, that's where we're going to store the unique values of our department names. If sheet exists, then we're going to do something, and I'll end my if statement. So this is going to give us a Boolean value. If it's true, then it's going to execute this. If it's not true, then it's not going to execute. Probably what we want to do here is we want to say if not sheets exist lists, right? We want to say if this sheet doesn't exist, then let's create it. That's really where we're going. So if it doesn't exist, let's add it. So if not sheet exists list, this is going to be true if it exists. It's going to be false if it doesn't exist. And if not false, it's kind of a confusing way to think about it, but logically we're saying if this doesn't exist, then we're going to add it. So let's do worksheets.add. And the nice thing here is we can add a dot name to this, and it will actually allow us to add the sheet and name it in one line, which is kind of convenient, right? So if this sheet doesn't exist, then add it. We'll add the sheet, we'll rename it to lists. Now this is nice. The reason why this is nice is because we can include this in our code. And if we start from scratch, or if this is a new, if we delete the list sheet, if we share this with somebody else, this is only going to run if that sheet does not exist. And in one line, it will create it and add it. Okay, great. So if it's not there, it's going to add. What's the next step? Let's see. Let's check. Let's run this and see if it works, shall we? I'll put a stop down here. And right now, I do not have it. So I have two sheets here. If I run this, it gives me an error. Let's see, where's my error? Okay, so it's still not there. So what I need to do is I probably need to take this if statement and put it up above the set found cell, right? Does that make sense? So I've just rearranged my code a little bit. I said, hey, if this doesn't exist, I want you to add it. So I've just changed my code. Let me run it again. Let me stop it and run it again. And it goes down to the stop, and now it's just added it. So it's run this code. If not sheet exists lists, then add it, it's added it, and it's renamed it to lists. Now, what's interesting here is it's run this line of code here, but when it ran it, it didn't find anything. So now that we have a worksheets list, or lists worksheet, it went to find this department, and the department is not listed in row 1, right? It's not there. And so it returned nothing. Interestingly enough, if you run this find function and it doesn't find anything, it returns nothing. That's actually the return that it is, nothing. So found cell is equal to nothing. So let's add another line here that says if found cell is nothing, then let's do something. What should we do? Then let's add it, right? So if it's trying to find department on the lists worksheet and it finds nothing, then let's add it in. So we'll do worksheets dot or quote lists. We'll say within that worksheet dot lists, go to cells. We want to count the rows. And we're going to do call for our column. And that's the column up here. Let's see. Wait a second. I just realized my notes are wrong. Oh, that's awkward. Sorry, this is columns. Columns count, that's what it is. Columns dot count, comma 1. So we're going to count the columns, and we're going to be in row 1. So if there's more than a column there, it's going to say how many columns there are. And then what we want to do is we want to go to end Excel to left. What's the column on the left plus 1? So we're using the worksheets, the lists worksheets. We're counting the columns. How many columns are there? At this point, we don't have any columns. We're going to go to the end Excel to left. It's like using your control arrow key. I mean, back in the day before they had a home and end button, you just use your control and arrow key. You push control, hold down control, use the right and left arrow or the up and down arrow. And that's how you'd get to the end or the home cell. So in this case, we're doing end to Excel to left dot column, and then we just want to go 1 to the right. And this is going to be the column that we want to set it to. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of this line and say COL equals to, because we already created the column variable up here. We're saying, give me the column, the next column that's blank is what this is saying, right? Give me the next column that's blank. Once we know what the column is, then we can actually add it into the worksheet. So we'll do worksheets, lists, dot cells. We're going to do 1, comma, column. Dot value is equal to department. So we find out which column is the next column over. We are going to add that department title into that specific column. And now I can click and drag my yellow arrow back up to this cell, which is pretty remarkable, right? I mean, I think the number of programming languages that allows you to do just what I just did, it's like, hey, go back to this point and run it. I don't know of very many that do that, which is pretty unique. That's right. So I've clicked and I've dragged my yellow arrow back up to the if found cell is nothing line. Now I'm going to run this. Because found cell is nothing, it's gone and identified column 2. I'll go to that column and I will put in department right there in column 2. So now I've got my department column set up. But let's add another statement inside of this if statement, which is an else statement. So I'll come back up here and I'll say else column is equal to found cell dot column. So if it does find something, we want to know which column it's in. And if this is nothing, if this is not nothing, take the column of that and assign that to be the column. Okay, not bad. So at this point, what we've done is we've checked to see if the sheet exists. If it doesn't, we're going to add the sheet. We're going to look for on that sheet the department column. If it doesn't exist, we're going to add it. If it does exist, we're going to return that column name. Okay, good. Let's see what's next. 17, 18, 19, 20. So this is, for all intents and purposes, this is how we are setting up. What I'm doing is I'm setting up for a runtime error. We've worked the situation. So let's do this. I'll take out my list sheet. I'll delete that sheet. I'll run this again. I'll stop it. I'll run it. And it hasn't found it. It's added it and it's added department. It's done everything that we told it to do, right? It's added the sheet back. It's added the department name back. So pretty good so far. Let me go back to this. What happens if we don't add it? So I'm going to comment these lines out. Remember this if statement? If I comment this out, I want to go back to that error message that we had before. And this is going to be helpful for the homework. If I comment this out, run this again with a deleted sheet, it should say subscript out of range, and it's going to give me this error on this line. Why is this error? Yeah, very good. No lists worksheet. Excellent. So I want to show you something very dangerous, and this is literally for the homework. There's a statement we can add here that says, if you receive an error, ignore it and keep going. Why is that dangerous? It's dangerous because you could potentially ignore lots of errors and it could cause trouble, lots of trouble for your program. But it's important to know how to do this. So the way to do this is relatively simple, actually. And it has to do with on error, resume next. So if this line is inserted before this error happens, and there's an error here, it will ignore the error and keep going. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that's pretty crazy. One thing you probably want to include whenever you use this is the idea of going back to normal settings, right? So we're saying, if we're writing this in here, basically what we're saying is, if you encounter a runtime error, skip it and move on. That's what that line means. And we probably want to be a little bit cautious when we use that. There are times when it's important to use it. But the setting to go back to is this. On error, go to 0. That's a really, really weird way of saying, basically you're saying, reset, basically you're saying, uh, how do I want to say it? Go back to observing errors or something like that, right? You basically turn off errors here and you turn them back on here. And that's just the way it's written. That goes back to some of the original basic coding language where everything was in lines, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, line 6. And then you would say, go to this such a line, go such and such a line, go to such and such line. So when you say go to 0, you're basically resetting this error setting. On error, go to 0. It's saying, okay, pay attention again to errors. So if I were to stop this and run this again, instead of stopping at this line, it would continue on and it would not run that error. There's another error down here because that sheet doesn't exist down here, but it skipped this error. So for the homework tonight, it's going to ask you about this line, right? How do you skip an error in your code? And that's the answer right there. If you should try to use ChatGPT for the homework, I've seen it give you much more complex answer, like a page and a half of code. This is it for the homework. You can do that one line. I recommend also just getting in the habit of adding this line as well. The code works with this because the code in the homework is so small. But I think it's a good habit to get into knowing how to turn that setting off by using on error go to 0. Okay, good. Any questions about that on the homework? Anybody run into problems on that? Okay. Okay, great. Let's talk about how to trap an error. Wait a minute. What time do we get out here? 3:05? 3:15? I just got I looked at the clock and I thought, wait a minute, do we get out right now? No, we get out at 3:30. Right, Brennan? I trust you, Brennan. I trust you. We might have to let out a little bit early, is what he's saying. Okay, great. So what we've done is we've used the error message. Let's see. There's a couple more things here that we could get into. I think I'll skip that one. I'll skip that one. Okay, great. We got there. We got there. We got the go to. Oh man, we're moving quite along. I think maybe we might be done before 3:30. Let's see how we do here. Let me show you what this error trap looks like. So if we comment this out and let's assume that I'm going to comment these out as well. And let's assume that we get to this point and it gives us a subscript out of range error. One of the ways that we can trap an error is we can do an if statement that says if error number equals 9, then do something. And in other words, what we can do, we know what this error is, right? When we ran this, it said error 9. Let's see, sorry, let me comment this out, run it again so you can see the error message. Runtime error 9, subscript out of range. So it actually gives us a number. And now we're saying, let's trap that error. If the error number is equal to 9, then we can actually do something about it, right? It turns out, though, I just realized we have to do this after we run this line. So we have to put this after this line. Does that make sense? We have to run it after this line, or else the error doesn't exist yet. So we'll run this line, and if the error is 9, then we'll do something. Let me put my end if in here. What should we do? Well, the sheet doesn't exist, so let's add it. We can add it right in this error trap. Worksheets.error dot add dot name is equal to lists. So this is an example of kind of an error trap where we're saying if the error number is 9, we're looking for a specific error, right? We're trapping that error. We're running this line of code. We're trapping the error. And then we're going to do something about it. In order to make this work, though, I do need to uncomment this line so that it continues to run. Does that make sense? So on error resume next, I'm going to run that. I'm going to run this line. It's going to have an error. And now that I know what the error number is, I can run this. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and include this up here as well, just as a good habit. So I'm going to turn off my error recognition, says on error resume next. If this is an error, which I'm expecting it is because I've commented this out before, it's not going to find this lists worksheet. That's going to give an error. It's going to turn back on observing errors, even though it's still already found the error. Now it's going to say, oh, if there's an error number 9, then just add the new sheet here. Let's see if that works. I might need to put, now I think about it, I might need to put this after the if statement, this error go to. It might reset my error before I get to here. So let me see what happens here. If I stop and run this, subscript out of range. Okay, it's down here. So it's skipped all this part. In fact, let me put a stop right here just to see if this works. I'll put a little debug.print in here just to give me a little confirmation. Error number 9. Isn't that a song? Error number 9? The Beatles? Is that a song, really? Yeah, I think I need to change this on error go to. I think it needs to be after the if statement so that it doesn't reset it. So let me try that. Error number 9, there it is. So it worked. So in other words, oh, is that what it is? I thought it was 9 something. That sounds familiar. Where's our music guy? So what I did is I on error resume next. I said turn off all the errors. Don't stop it if there's an error. I ran this line. There was an error because lists worksheet did not exist. Then I said if the error is number 9, go ahead and add the sheet, which it did, and debug print error number 9, which it did, and I erased it. Now turn back the errors back on. Turn the errors back on, right? So one more time, just to see it work, I'll delete my lists sheet. I'll run the code, and I should expect it to run this, skip this, not skip it. It'll run it. It'll have an error. It'll resume. It'll print error number 9, and it will create that worksheet, even though there's an error. There it is. Error number 9, created the list sheet, and now we're stopped. So that is how to trap an error. We know where the error is. We're going to on error resume next. We're going to figure out what that number is, and then we can react to that error this way. Pretty good, pretty interesting way to handle an error in code. That's actually a pretty sophisticated way. That's pretty cool. Okay, great. So we've trapped an error. A couple more things here. We've added the sheet. The last couple of things we're going to do is let's go ahead and add the value. Let's add the value to the lists sheet. And so what we'll do is, let's see, at this point, I'll come down here. The worksheet has been created, so this should not error anymore. Once we've added the sheet, we can add the department name. Let me take out the stop there. At this point, let's go ahead and add the value. So after all this, all we have is the sheet list and the department name. Let's see. Oh, let me take that out. I don't need that one. It's going to debug everything. We've got lists and we've got departments. Okay, so just to reset where we are, try to get your code so that you have the lists sheet and you have the department in cell B1. Is everybody there? Let's take a second and do that, just so we're up to speed. I know we did a lot there, but see if we can get to that point where we have, if we run the code, it will create the list sheet if it's not already created, and it will add the department in cell B1. I feel like this is too easy for you. Okay. All right. Grace? Oh, you're not stopping?
It's keeping and going down to this loop.
Oh, interesting. What does it say? Does it give you an error message?
And it's saying that there's a loop without a do.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. So there's the loop, and then where's your do? Oh, it's up here. It may be that your if statement doesn't have an end if. I bet that's it. That first if right there. Yeah. Try that because your other if has an end, right there. So I think it got confused. It was like, wait a minute, this loop started in this if statement started, but there's no closing if before that loop came. So it saw the loop and didn't see the do, but what we really need is an end if. Try that. Nice. Does that work? Yeah. Perfect. Justice, good. Momo Biso?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Okay, let's check. How close are you? On air, resume next. Go back to reserving options. On air, go to here. Worksheets lists. And you don't have, so you don't have a list on it right now, right?
Nope.
That should have aired out right there. Oh, you passed that one. Oh, uncomment those out. So
Oh.
let's put those back to functional lines. Yeah, perfect. And now let's try to stop and reset. Yeah, click on stop right there. Yeah, and then play it again, run it again. Okay, there you go. So you got the lists, you're at the stop. That's a good sign. So you can take that out or comment that out and keep going, and it should add department now. Perfect. Nice. Does that make sense? A little bit? Kind of. Because we took that out, it didn't add it. And because you passed the resume, I mean, yeah, exactly.
No, that makes sense. Skip this error. And there was no place. Skip the error and work with it. Then continued.
Well, it should have caught it there. Now that I think about that. Because this should have aired out right there. Found cell worksheet list. It should have gone, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then it should have found that error there and added the name there. Printed error.
Would this not have stop? Would it not have skip the error? And then there would be no error brought up.
No, that's not because it'll still run it, but it'll just resume it. So it'll still run the error. The error should exist. Can we look at that one more time? Why don't you comment those 3 rows out one more time? And let's look at that one more time. So if you run that, let's go ahead and delete your lists. Okay, so that's what I expected it to do first time because there was nothing there. There was an error and it found it and added it right there and it printed it right there. That's what I expected. So now, yeah, you can just either keep going or comment out the stop and you should get the departments there. Does that work? Does that make sense a little bit? Hey. Okay, great. Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Good. Last couple things here. Let's see, where'd we go? We found the column. What we need to do is we need to add the value. Let's see, where is that? If it's not found, found cell equals column. We actually need to run this one more time. So let's set the found. So we're going to do the find one more time. What we're looking for here is we're looking for the actual value of the department in the list. So far what we've been searching for is there a department column on this worksheet? The next found cell we're going to find or look for is the actual name of the department in the list. So we're going to do set found cell equal to worksheets lists dot, thank you, dot columns worksheets. And we know what the column is because of this line up here, right? We set that column up here. So columns call, C-O-L, dot find. What are we going to look for? We're going to look for the products. So products is the product sheet here. And in the product sheet, we're going to say cells, row, column 3. So row, let me go up to the top here. Product sheet, column 3, whichever row we're on. So row, comma 3, dot value. Right? We are going to search for this value on the lists sheet in that column. We're going to go through all that column. We're going to say, okay, look for that value. Because this is a find, we're going to have 3 commas, and we're going to do XL whole just to match the entire contents of the cell. And we're going to say, if you find that, put it into the found cell value. Let me see if I can expand this out a little bit more. Again, we're searching for the that department on the list sheet. And then we're going to say if found cell is nothing, so if it's not there, then let's add it. We'll do an if statement. Sorry, let me scroll up a little bit. This is our search line, and then this is our, if it's nothing, let's add it. Worksheets, lists, dot cells, 1 comma call. So this is 1 comma, oops, wrong one. Dot cells, rows dot count, comma column. So it's counting the rows. Out of all the cells on the sheet, it's counting the rows. And we're going to do an end Excel up. We're going to go all the rows in the sheet on that particular column. This is column, whatever the column is up here, whichever column the department is, which I believe is column 2. We're going to go all the way down. So rows count, the very last row on this sheet. Then we're going to do an Excel up. And that's as if we were doing this, right? It's as if we go here, we're going all the way to the bottom, and Excel, end Excel up is saying control up arrow. That's where we're at. And then we're going to offset that. So we do offset 1 comma 0 dot value equals. So we're going to offset 1 lower than this department because that's as far as we have right now. We're going to go 1 row down, same column. So offset 1 comma 0 dot value. The value that we're going to put in there is products from the product sheet dot cells row comma 3 dot value. So we're going to go grab that value from the products sheet, whatever that value is, put it into that cell on the list sheet. And then we're going to go to the next row. Not bad, right? Not bad. So if I run this and if I spell correctly, it's going to go through all of these rows and all of these sheets. When we go to lists, you should have 4 unique department names. It just went through all those lists. all those products, and for each row, it looked to see if the value was in that list. If it wasn't there, it added that value to the list. You guys are good at this. Good job. That's not bad at all. Nice. Very good. Okay, a couple more things. Do we have 2 more minutes? Brennan? Brennan says he guesses. Okay. A couple of things from the debug window here. There's a couple of things that are pretty interesting. One of these is the locals window. So for example, if I come up to my stop and uncomment my stop, this will allow us to see it a little bit better. And then if I do view locals window, there is something down here that pops up. What this is this keeps track of all of the variables in your entire program. So if you're debugging something and you're like, I don't know what's going on with this variable, you can look at the locals window and it would tell you. So I'll run this program now with my local windows open, and I put a stop in here, and it says I'm on row 2. So the value of my row variable is 2 right now. Not bad. If I run it again, hit F5 again, row is now 3, and the column is now 2. Run it again, row 4. Run it again, row 5. Run it again, row 6. And I can keep running this, and it shows me what the value is of my variables. That's pretty cool, right? This is view locals window. There's another one called watch window. Watch is pretty powerful. Not only can you identify variables in the watch window, but you can actually set up expressions for watching. So I can do debug add watch. And if I wanted to, I could say, let's watch range B3 dot value. And I want to break when this value changes. So if range B3, the value of range B3 changes, it will break the code. It will put me into break mode right at that point. It'll stop running the code right then. And if there's something I need to troubleshoot, if there's something I need to figure out, I can run this code and it will break every time value B3 changes. So if I come here, click on that, right now the value of B3 is duck acrylic. Let me stop this one and let me change to list sheet, and let me erase these guys, and specifically for B3. So I have this watch on B3. If I run this, it's going to stop when this value changes. So that's another option for debugging and finding errors, is the watch window. Another thing I could do is I could come here and say, add watch again, debug, add watch. And let's say I wanted to say worksheets lists dot range B3 dot value is equal to apparel. So I could break when this value is true. So if I wanted to insert that watch in here, and I come back here to lists, it would break the code. Let me edit this again so you can see it. It's kind of hard to see. When range B3 on the list sheet is equal to apparel, when that's true, when value is true, it will break the code. So that's another way to find a break. So I could play this, and notice B3 is now changed to outdoor, and it stopped on this one. So that was this watch, and this watch is still false. I could actually change this now because I think apparel is probably going to be, is it B4? Let's try B4. And if I run this, oh, it's B5. It goes through the whole thing. I would have to edit that to be B5. And then let me erase these again. And then run this code. There's the first watch, it broke then. There's the second watch, it broke the code right then. So this is not using stop, right? And it's breaking the code once this watch is true, which is pretty cool. Lists apparel has just been put into cell B5. It just ran this line of code, and now it's recognizing that, and it breaks the code, which is pretty cool. And then I think I've shown this before, but I'll mention it again. Another way to stop is to left click on this bar over here. So if I wanted to break code right there, I could enter break mode by just putting a stop right there. I don't have to type in the word stop. I can just left click on that bar and it creates a stop right there. It's another way to do it. So if I ran this again, it's still running from the previous time. It would stop right there and I can move it. So there's quite a bit of opportunities here of things that we can do to debug and fix errors. I guess the last thing in here is if you've seen this F8, Shift F8, there's ways to step into and step over the code. So if I take this out and if I uncomment these out, this will be helpful because it's calling this function here. If I am in break mode and if I push F8, it runs one line of code at a time, right? That's the debug step into option. If I get here and this next line, it hasn't run yet. If this next line calls a function, I can click on step over and it will run the function and stop when it comes out. Does that make sense? So it's weird because if you think about walking on a sidewalk and you're stepping over something, you think, well, you don't step on that. In this case, a step over says, run this and stop on the next square. Like step over it, even though you run it and stop on the next. So I click on step over and it runs this, but doesn't go into the function. It stays right here. Versus if I were to do step into, it would actually step into this function. And then I would do each function one by one. And then it comes back to the original place where it was at. So the idea there is step over. I can actually step over the function. It will run the function and come back to the next line. And that's right there. Step out goes to the higher level, and it just finished everything. So you have step into, step over, step out, and there's also run to cursor. So if I wanted to run to this point down here without the stop, I could say debug, run to cursor, and it will run to the cursor right there on a piece of line of code. So what we've done today is we've seen some pretty good debug tools, some error fixing tools, and good job. Way to go. I think that's it for today. Good work. Brennan, I gave you 4 minutes. Okay.
Like the watch and that stuff, are those gonna be on the midterm?
Some of the debug things are. I can't remember off the top. I'd have to go back and look at the study guide. There are some like the resume error next, on error, resume next. I think that's on there.
Watch and cursor and stuff like that.
For next do. I'm not sure it is. We've got the collection. I don't think it is, Grace, if I'm honest. Is that better or worse?
That's great.
You're okay with that? Okay. All right.